This is me sleeping. And this is me sleeping the night after I watched Hamilton. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Before we get started, my goal is to get to 100 subscribers right here on YouTube. So if you like the review, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new video. To call the 2015 Broadway musical Hamilton a phenomenon would be selling it short. The show was nominated for a record 16 Tony Awards, winning 11 of them. Hamilton has been on 3 national tours, including an additional 3-week run in Puerto Rico, and has been on London's West End. One of the 2016 shows was filmed at the Richard Rodgers Theatre in New York, and for all intents and purposes, this movie is just that show, but on the small screen. Originally set for release in 2021, the picture was purchased by Disney in February for $75 million and released onto their Disney Plus platform in early July. I actually lived in New York when the show was first released on Broadway and was not yet willing to sell my kidneys, gallbladder, appendix, liver, and right lung on the black market just to afford tickets. So like a lot of people, I had a chance to see Hamilton for the very first time over the 4th of July weekend. So I guess the question is this: does Hamilton live up to the absolutely gargantuan amount of hype that you need to suppress in order to enjoy it? In a word, yeah. It's hard to throw an overwhelming heaping of praise at something that you've been hearing is incredible for nearly half a decade. And it's also impossible to fully capture the magic of being surrounded by a live audience while hearing and seeing the music, performances, and choreography right in your face. All of that said, the acting, the singing, the dancing, the lyrics, the songs, all of that come off as good as possible given that you're watching on TV while shoveling pizza down your gullet. Hashtag America. All right, so what exactly is this show? What is Hamilton? It's a story about a young orphan boy who moved from an island in the Caribbean to New York City, grew up to serve in the military and help free the colonies from British rule, and took a major role in establishing these good old United States as one of our founding fathers. I am, of course, talking about Alexander Hamilton, a name you would certainly recognize even if he's not as well known as George Washington or Thomas Jefferson. Hamilton was our first Treasury Secretary and also helped create the banking and trade systems that would eventually help turn America into a global superpower. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who also wrote the music, lyrics, and book, plays the lead role himself. My knowledge of Miranda prior to this play was basically non-existent, and right at the outset you can tell that he poured his heart and soul into making this musical happen. In a world with countless sequels and remakes, Hamilton is a refreshing take on one of America's lesser known but equally impactful heroes. The play/film starts off with our hero at the age of 19, and the entire first act covers his rise from an absolute nobody to George Washington's personal assistant. After a 1-minute intermission, we are thrown right into the second act, which covers the remainder of Hamilton's life up until his death. The play gives us a rather in-depth look at historical figures of the American Revolution, such as the aforementioned Washington and Jefferson, along with Aaron Burr and James Madison. Hamilton's relationship with his wife, the birth of his son, and his dabbling in adultery are all covered here. Not really sure why this is the case, but I came in expecting to see a watered-down version of this character, but walked away getting the complete opposite picture. Hamilton was a complicated fella and deeply flawed guy who did his best with the cards he was given, and in doing so, helped establish the most free nation on earth. The show even takes time to go into his work defending the US Constitution, and after all, the man did write the bulk of the Federalist Papers. If you don't know anything about the Federalist Papers, that's fine. I'm not your history professor, but I did just assign you some homework. The performances here are all awesome. Miranda is totally likable as Hamilton, has a good enough singing voice, and brings a surprising amount of joy to the part. If you think you're surprised at the success of this musical, watch Lin-Manuel Miranda during this play, and you'll come to the realization that he is both surprised and thankful to have found himself at the center of a cultural sensation. Leslie Odom Jr.'s Aaron Burr plays an integral part in the story, and his relationship with Hamilton is often at the forefront of the narrative, for obvious reasons. Odom Jr.'s performance here is awesome. Burr desperately wants to make a name for himself, and his envy of Hamilton's success causes their relationship to deteriorate beyond repair. Christopher Jackson plays Thomas Jefferson. Our second president struts across the stage with absolute confidence and gets some of the biggest laughs of the entire play. Philippa Soo does yeoman's work as Hamilton's wife, Eliza. Their courtship, their marriage, the birth of their son. She anchors so much of Hamilton's life, and my concern for the well-being of their entire family didn't necessarily revolve around Alexander, it revolved around her. I can't speak for anyone else, and I can't imagine I'm alone in this, but my absolute favorite part of Hamilton was Jonathan Groff's performance as King George III. I had no idea this character was even in the play, and nobody told me anything about this. I'm so happy that over the course of 5 years, this performance remained the best kept secret about Hamilton. I refuse to spoil anything about this character or role, but good Lord Almighty, it's incredible, and he just might be the MVP of the entire play, despite only being in a handful of scenes. The sheer volume of historical content here can be a lot to take in at once, but the overall length and structure of the play does a good enough job making it all digestible. This is a big play, clocking in at roughly 2 hours and 40 minutes, but the pacing and timing are all right on the money. Personally, I felt like the opening number was a bit on the weak side, but everything after that felt pitch perfect. Lin-Manuel Miranda made a gutsy decision bringing together a mostly minority cast for this show, and it's a testament to both the writing and the actors that it doesn't really matter. This is a very modern and very American show every step of the way, regardless of what anyone looks like. Every single character here is allowed to shine, a difficult accomplishment, but one that makes a good theater production stand out above the rest. As always, thank you so much for checking out the video. If you enjoyed it, click on that subscribe button. You can also like and share the video, since that engagement will really help the channel grow. Also, sound off down in the comments and let me know what you thought of Hamilton, and I will see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.